Oh, that's a very nice.
Yes.
Where's Nilofer? Take a picture. Yes. How are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Good to see you. It's very nice. It's well done.
So where should all sign here?
One of the gates. Outside.
PVC. Yes. Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah, at Cambridge. Yes. This is my wife. Yes. Go under me.
Former PVC.
Oh, it's nice to meet you.
Professor Alim, Hindi department.
Hindi department? Nice to meet you. Right. I want to see some of my Are they here or not?
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone present here. Keeping with the tradition of Aligarh Muslim University, I invite Qari Muhammad Azam Sahab for Qirad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا وبشر المؤمنين بأن لهم من الله فضلا كبيرا ولا تطع الكافرين والمنافقين ودع أذاهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا صدق الله العظيم.
I now invite Ms. Amna Tasneem, our student from Mauritius, to present a bouquet to Dr. Frank Islam. I invite Mr. Bashim Maradov, a student from Turkmenistan, to present a bouquet to Ms. Debbie Driesman. I invite Mr. Mustafa Al-Sabri, a research scholar from Yemen, to present a bouquet to the Vice Chancellor. It is a matter of immense pleasure that from this year, Dr. Frank Islam has instituted an award to felicitate 5 eminent journalists for their significant contribution to the field of media and journalism. From now onwards, this award will be given every year. Before this, Dr. Frank Islam has also instituted an award at the University of Madurai to provide hands-on training to students. We are pleased to have amongst us some distinguished journalists who have made their indelible impression in their respective fields. We have today with us Ms. Romana Isar Khan. I request Ms. Romana Isar Khan to please come on stage. Ms. Romana Isar Khan, an alumnus of Department of Mass Communication, Aligarh Muslim University, is one of the most celebrated news anchors in the country. She's currently working with ABP News, hosting a very popular show, Samvidhan Ki Shapath. Earlier, she has been associated with Z News and News 24. She can be seen debating a variety of issues like politics, economics, and social issues. Her shows Sada Haq and Big Debate have also been well received. Not only this, her cricket-based show Wah Cricket has also received a lot of acclaim. I now request the esteemed guests Dr. Frank Islam, Ms. Debbie Driesman, and the Honorable Vice Chancellor to present the Award of Excellence to Ms. Romana Isar Khan. I now request Mr. Anuj Kumar, another distinguished guest, to please come on stage. Mr. Anuj Kumar is another alumnus of Department of Mass Communication, Aligarh Muslim University. At present, he is Senior Assistant Editor in the esteemed English newspaper, The Hindu. He has also worked as a special correspondent for 15 years. A renowned film critic, he is the editor of Metro Plus, a supplement of The Hindu. He is also in charge of several other pullouts of the newspaper. I again request our honorable guests to please present the Award of Excellence to Mr. Anuj Kumar. Our guest, Mr. Santosh Sharma, is senior reporter at Dainik Jagran for more than 16 years. He completed his studies from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. For his outstanding work, I again request the honorable guests to present the Award of Excellence to Mr. Santosh Sharma. Thank you very much. I now call upon Mr. Pranav Agarwal to please come on the dais. Another journalist, Mr. Pranav Agarwal, is presently working with The Hindustan. Earlier, he has also worked with Amar Ujala. I request the dignitaries to please present the Award of Excellence to Mr. Pranav Agarwal. Mr. Kamran Ahmed, I request you to please come on the dais. Mr. Kamran Ahmed is working with TV18 Group. He's the Aligarh correspondent of ETV. I request the dignitaries to please hand over the Award of Excellence to Mr. Kamran Ahmed. We welcome Dr. Frank Islam, who is the key person behind the funding of this entire project that Mass Communication Department has undertaken. I now invite the chairperson of the Department of Mass Communication, Professor Shafiq Advai, to please come forward and deliver the welcome address.
Thank you very much. First, I welcome our celebrated writer and thinker and a public intellectual. Nowadays, you hardly find any public intellectual, and Dr. Frank Islam is one of them. So that's why it's a very rare honor that is a well-known entrepreneur and the writer. So I first welcome him, and along with his wife, Debbie, and I also welcome Dr. Abdullah and Dr. Ali Rizvi. Both were instrumental in getting us a grant of 1 crore rupees, and I also welcome Professor Tariq Mansoor, who is instrumental in making this our dream true, and Professor Akhtar Hasib Sahib is very much here. He was also instrumental in getting things done, and of course our registrar Abdul Hamid Sahib is very much here, So before we start something, I have to say something about the department. Our department is a very old one. It was established in the year of 1938, and at that time a very well-known journalist, Chaudhry Rahim Ali Hashmi, was made the in charge of the course, but it did not work. It, I think, only two years it worked when it just went away. After that, in 1976, it was made a part of Professor Durrani is here. He would bear me out. Then we started a course under the Center of Professional Course. Then in 1999, the full-fledged department came into being. So you have seen that we have produced so many stalwarts. They have just, though it's not, I think may not be a case of basking others' glory, but we really worked hard, and that's why you will find everywhere our journalists, our students are working with Al Jazeera, BBC, name anyone. Al Jazeera, two of our students are there, Nadeem Asrar and Saif Khalid. And Hindustan Times, Indian Express, Times of India, Anuj is here. So many journalists are here. So that's why our department has come up. But we lacking behind, so many facilities are not there. So though university is just giving journalists help to us, but still we just conceived the idea and we approached through Ali Rizvi Saab, Dr. Frank Islam, and at that time Afina Rizvi was the chairman. So we just thought that we should have, Professor Durrani was also here. So we just thought that we should have our separate auditorium. It was a just dream, because no other, you see, there are more than 400 universities in the country. They offer courses in mass communication. But I'm afraid there is no university in the university department in the country. They have their separate auditorium for screening their film. Now we live in a society that came into existence with the generous grant of Dr. Frank Islam. He has given us 1 crore rupees, and that's why the department was able to set up this beautiful auditorium in which you are sitting. We still need some more help. So certainly we will put a word to him as well. So that's why he is here. You see, I just enjoy writing. Right now it is journalism is, you know what kind of journalism we are having. Anuj is here and so many journalists are here. Nowadays we no longer ask questions. Instead we provide answers. And the anchors and the media, they have answer for everything. And you know the person who answers for everything, how can you describe him? In English you will find so many adjectives for them. So journalism has become somewhat as a very preachy and very kind of journalism. Earlier it was aid to democracy. Now it has become, in some extent, it has become threat to democracy. So it just jeopardizes so many things because they don't ask questions. Your job is to tell the truth, no matter how inconvenient it may be. But it's not the case. But as far as the Dr. Frank Islam is here, his writing appears in so many newspapers in India. I read with Hindustan Times, Economic Times, and so many other newspapers they carry. There are so many writers, they write, but as far as their writing is concerned, it's very logical and short and crisp sentences and very brevity. So right now it is a very rare thing, and that's why I just said that he is a public intellectual. Public intellectual is the person who just writes on a plethora of things. It's not only related to one aspect, but all that matters to you, or all that are related to your day-to-day concerns with the life, he writes on that. So I just again welcome him to our department. So here the department where journalists are trained. It is said like poets. Poets are born, not made. So is the case with journalism. Journalists are said that journalists are born, not made. But we are trying to make journalists. But for them, you can see that training is very much important. So that's why this kind of empirical training, this auditorium and some other facilities are there. So that's why we are here. Dr. Frank Islam has given us 1 crore rupees. Apart from that, we have so many, Dr. Frank Islam, you see so many teachers from various departments are here. So just they donated money for raising funds for these chairs, beautiful chairs you are having. You are all sitting. And Professor Tariq Mansoor equally gracious enough to grant us 3 lakh rupees for the chairs. So that's why we also thankful to him. And the project, the main person is Dr. Abdullah and Dr. Ali. Ali Rizvi is a very instrumental. He was our alumnus, our university alumnus, not ours. So he was instrumental in getting things done. And I just again welcome Dr. Abdullah. Since time is very short, I sometimes ask me, and he's very right, because we're scorching heat. And you know, this hall is not provided with ACs. We are trying to have it. So that's why I just keep my speech very short. So in short, we just again welcome him, and we why it is this journalism department is very important, because nowadays it is everything you see. We say it is a post-truth period. Truth is not there. So just we are carried away by the emotions. So that's why Department of Journalism and training in journalism is very much required. So that's why the department is here, its existence is there. So I again welcome all guests here, especially Dr. Frank Islam and his wife, Debbie, here. And I also thankful to Dr. Asma Kazmi, who just made a beautiful portrait of both Dr. Frank and Debbie. Wonderful portrait. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we'll have the memento presentation ceremony to felicitate our distinguished guests. I request the Honorable Vice Chancellor to please present a memento to Dr. Frank Islam. Thank you very much, sir. We're also very pleased to have amongst us Dr. Debbie Driesman, who is the wife of Dr. Frank Islam. She's also a statesman, a philanthropist, and she's always by the side of Dr. Frank Islam in all his important endeavors. So we'd also like to felicitate Dr. Debbie Driesman. Our guest, Dr. Abdullah, former chairman, Board of Trustees and founding president of the Federation of Aligarh Alumni Association, is a scientist, social activist, and an Urdu poet living in Washington, D.C., United States. He has served AMU in the capacity of a lecturer at Department of Mathematics and Statistics. He went to US to earn his doctoral degree and later on worked for NASA. The last couple of decades, he is managing his own company. He is well recognized for his role in expansion and advancement of Urdu language in USA and has several publications to his credit. I now request the Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Akhtar Haseeb, to present a memento to Dr. Abdullah. Mr. Syed Ali Rizvi is a business executive with more than 25 years of industry experience, an entrepreneur, philanthropist, speaker, and AMU alumnus, and a passionate representative of Aligarh Tehreek. His contributions in non-profit initiatives such as Federation of Aligarh Alumni Associations, Vision Aid, Sir Syed Global Scholar Award have exhibited extraordinary leadership skills of connecting people, process, and technologies. His sincere efforts in reforming education and improving healthcare have transcended geographical boundaries. Mr. Rizvi has been instrumental in getting this mission of Frank and Debbie Islam Auditorium Complex accomplished. I now request again Professor Akhtar Haseeb to present a memento to Mr. Syed Ali Rizvi. I now request Mr. Sayyid Ali Rizvi to please come forward and have a word with the audience.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Prof. Tariq Mansoor Sahab, our very dear chief guest of the day, Dr. Frank Islam, his wonderful, beautiful wife, Debbie Dreisman, the Pro Vice Chancellor Sahab, the Red Star Sahab, Abdullah Bhai, and of course, the Naushami also of today is Shafi Bhai Hamare. It is really an amazing journey we undertake every year when we come to Aligarh Muslim University. And the reason is because this is a mecca of education. Not education you get in school, but also tarbiyat here. It's basically an art of living you get at Aligarh University. So in a sense, it is basically like a trip for your umrah that you come here. Because you come here, the walls speak to you, the halls speak to you, your professors, your teachers, your colleagues, they talk to you. Many years ago, somebody told me that the love for AMU is directly proportional to the distance from AMU. जितना आप दूर जाते हैं, उतनी अलीगढ़ की मोहब्बत आपको और पास लेके आती है. So the biggest assets of any university are its alum, because we have invested our life into the university. In our youth, we have been trained here, we have been taught here, we have been told how to behave in the outside world. So if we succeed outside of AMU, it's not because of what we are, it's because of what Aligarh Muslim University made us to be. And this truly is applicable to all the people around the world that we meet across. This again, today that we are at this August gathering of wonderful people in the audience, I can see many professors, many teachers right here, alum here, those who have put their lifeblood into the university. So we stand here as a testimony to your commitment to all the students of this great university. And when I came to the hall the first time, the very first striking feature of this place was this large portrait, Frank, of you and Debbie, talking to us from the side. And probably be here for as many years that this stage is set up for all the people and this auditorium is there. The alum, when they get involved in the university, they can do wonders. The university has got so many projects going on, so many things happening at their expense, and then to have the expertise of all the alumni from across the world to come and contribute in any way possible. It's not only money. It could be in terms of your expertise, your knowledge, your resources, your contacts that you bring to the university are very important and crucial. So as we sit across the world, wherever we are, not a single day passes that we don't think about our Aligarh Muslim University. और जहाँ जहाँ अलीगढ़ की याद आती है तो उसमें सोचते हैं कि वहाँ जा करके ऐसा क्या कर दें, उसके लिए कहाँ दिल निकाल के रख दें फिर से, बिकॉज जो हमारे सबसे हसीन ज़िंदगी दिन गुजरे हैं वो यहीं इसी सरजमीन पे गुजरे हमारे लिए. और आज ख़ास तौर से जब ये ऑडिटोरियम रखा गया है, ये अभी शाफी भाई ने पूरी कहानी बताई आपके बारे में, इसके बारे में कि कैसे यहाँ की जो ख्वाहिशात थी ऐसा होना चाहिए. It was very engaging leadership at the department as well, with Professor Afina Rizvi and Durrani Sahab and of course Shafiq Adwai Sahab. They all sort of engaged with Frank Islam and made sure that we were able to bring about this change possible. And as you heard, this is the only auditorium in the country that is attached to any Department of Mass Communication. This is a great feeling that you have. Because the people that will be going across from here, your words, the people in mass media will be going across in the country, they will know you've come from a very good institute. And again, honoring people who represent our voices in the media as columnists, as writers, as authors, as journalists, as editors, as cameramen, as people who are voice makers of us. This is important engagement. The partnership that Frank had with his money that he gave into us here, it started a journey. But the creativity that we had was, many of these seats that you see here, behind those seats are the names of people who have given funds, their money, hard-earned money, to the department as these chairs. So this is a unique partnership of the alumni and the university, those who live right here and those who are outside. And inshallah, with growing number of days, we'll get more engaged, more involved in the university and the programs to give the best we have in our lives, because what we got from AMU is the best from Aligarh Muslim University. I again thank every one of you to being sitting here in this hot weather. And again, our honorable leadership at the university, Tariq Mansoor Sahab, and then Dr. Frank Islam and Devi, and the PVC Sahab, Registrar Sahab, आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. और ख़ास तौर से आपको देख करके मेरे ख्याल से 4-6 किलो खून मेरा बढ़ गया होगा. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. हमारे ऑडियंस में we have a special guest also, the Vice Chancellor of Pune University, Dr. Rajesh Singh. Can you please stand for a second? Rajesh Singh Sahab, please. Thank you for coming and joining us today. Thank you. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Mr. Rizvi. Thank you very much. Dr. Frank Islam is a distinguished entrepreneur, a celebrated writer, a widely read columnist, a civic leader, educational, and a philanthropist. As a public intellectual, he is determined to revolutionize the landscape of the world for the better. Mr. Frank generously lends support to many social and civic activities meant for mitigating the sufferings of the marginalized class. Mr. Islam's unrelenting creative, intellectual, civic, educational, charitable and business engagements are spread over numerous organizations. Despite making his fortunes in the States, his abiding and unceasing love for his alma mater prompted him to invest extensively for creating new facilities and building infrastructure at Aligarh Muslim University. His generous funding to the department enabled to build the state-of-the-art Frank and Debbie Islam Auditorium for screening the short films produced by the students. It is the only department which has its exclusive auditorium for imparting hands-on training to its students. Indeed, the students have also prepared a short video as a token of gratitude to Dr. Frank Islam, which will be screened in a while. With this, I now invite Dr. Frank Islam to deliver the inaugural address.
So this place a little bit lacks the air conditioning, so maybe this is what Professor Kidwai had in mind. So how much it costs to get one of these done, Professor Kidwai? Let me know. So you probably need a heating system too, right? Okay. Since you already have my speech, but I will, because I'm very passionate about the freedom of press, so I'll talk about it. Mr. Vice Chancellor, Mr. Pro-Vice Chancellor, members of the faculty, Mr. Registrar, who I met at Cambridge University, right? Yeah. And the staff, friends, Professor Kidwai, ladies and gentlemen. My deep appreciations for your warm welcome, and thank you for your hospitality, and thank you for your kind introduction. You're pretty good in this. I also want to recognize, can you guys, Professor Rajesh Singh, who's a good friend of mine for a long, long time. He's the Vice Chancellor. Please stand up and take a bow. Thank you for coming here. I also want to recognize Tarun Basu, who's also a dear friend. As you know, I write all these columns. That column goes through him. He edits it to make sure it's right on the money. So before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my deep gratitude to Professor Kidwai for inviting me to inaugurate this beautiful auditorium in the Department of Mass Communication. Thank you, Professor Kidwai, for all you do to make a difference. Give him a big round of applause to Professor Kidwai. It is truly a pleasure to be in the timeless city of Aligarh. AMU has been a beacon of learning. It has always been a beacon of hope, aspirations, and dream. AMU indeed is a true treasure. AMU is a precious possession. I'm delighted to be here at Aligarh Muslim University. My days at AMU have had a profound effect on me. It was an exciting time of my life, though I must admit, sometimes it was chaotic. But nevertheless, it was filled with warmth, with the charms, cheers, changes, and challenges. AMU shaped my story. This is where my journey began. It determined my destiny. AMU is still core values that have served me in good stead throughout my adult life, and these values continue to be my guiding principles. Before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank several individuals who have worked diligently to make this dream come true. I want to thank the Vice Chancellor for his vision and the kind of Aligarh we can build together. He represents the best of humanity. He's the artillery of our heart. He inspired all of us to do well, but to do good. He provides the example, sets the standard. Let us give Vice Chancellor a big round of applause. I also want to recognize and express my deep appreciation and special thanks to Ali Rizvi, Dr. Abdullah, Afrina Rizvi. Where's Afrina? Afrina, thank you for being here. She came to my house and stayed one night at our guest house, right? Thank you for being here. And Professor Kidwai for planting the seed for the creation of this beautiful auditorium. I also want to thank Parvez Talib. Where is Parvez? Parvez Talib and Tawqi Sharwani for their effort. These people were instrumental in construction of this auditorium. Let's all give them a big round of applause. It is a distinct pleasure and privilege for me to speak at the inauguration of the Frank and Debbie Islam Auditorium in the Department of Mass Communication at Aligarh Muslim University. We decided to put our names on this auditorium for several reasons. The general ones are the AMU helped shape me and made me who I am. The Department of Mass Communication at Aligarh Muslim University ranks as one of the premier institutions of its type in India. This auditorium in this department is a special place where students, faculty, and guests can convene in a setting to look, to listen, and to learn. It is a place where information and ideas will be exchanged that will impact the who, what, where, how, and why of our future communication. Viewed from this perspective, it is more than a hall for assembling. It is a launching pad. Those are my general reasons, but let me add two very specific reasons. The first is that my wife Debbie and I have a deep commitment to democracy and to make sure that the freedom of press is vibrant and vital as a part of the democracy. The second is that we recognize that journalists and the free news media are central to ensuring that the democracy survives and thrives. So these two last reasons that are what I want to talk to you about today, democracy and free news media. In my speech, I will look at the historical connection between democracy and the free press, comment on the current status of the news and the free media here in India, and comment on the importance of the requirements of truthful news. Finally, in my closing thoughts, I will share my connection to and involvement with the free press. Let me begin by observing that I am an Indian American. The United States of America is my homeland, but India is my motherland. I'm doubly blessed by having had the privilege of living in the two largest democracies in the world. Active and engaged citizenship is essential to keeping those democracies vibrant and vital and exemplar for democracy worldwide. One of those democracies, the United States, came into being part because of the free press. The other, India, has had the reputation of having the most vibrant and free press in the developing world. I went to the United States from India to go to school to study computer science at the University of Colorado at Boulder. There are many things that amazed me in my early days in the United States. But one of the things that truly struck me out was the freedom of the press. The journalists and reporters' ability to listen, to watch, to observe, to investigate, and to write about anything was a wonderment to me. I saw their ability to speak truth to the power as a defining hallmark of that great democracy, the United States of America. At that time, I did not know why that capacity existed. Later in my life, as I have studied and learned more, I have come to understand the source of this freedom comes from the American Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the wisdom of the founding fathers. Thomas Jefferson, who was the founding father and the third president of the United States of America, in 1787, the year the Constitution was adopted in Philadelphia, Jefferson wrote, and I quote, "The basis of our government being the opinion of the people, the very first object should be to keep that right, and were it to left me to decide whether we should have a government without a newspaper or newspaper without a government, I should say I would not hesitate a moment to prefer the latter." End of quotation. Think about that. Jefferson elevated the need for the press above the need for the government. His opinion was not atypical at the time the Constitution was adopted or drafted. Many citizens feared that the Constitution gave too much power to the central government and might lead to tyrannical rule, so they demanded the addition of the Bill of Rights in order to get the Constitution ratified by the states. James Madison, another founding father, drafted the Bill of Rights, which contains 10 amendments. The first amendment of that Bill of Rights reads as follows: Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What makes this statement unique as it relates to the freedom of press is that it is an unqualified right in the United States of America that Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech of the press. This explains why the press and the media in the United States has such a powerful platform upon which to stand. The platform for the press here in India is not nearly that strong. One of the reasons for this is that the Constitution of India makes no reference to freedom of the press. The Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, as interpreted by the Supreme Court of India, as Tarun Basu made sure that he edits my comment, and that is the comment he gave me. It was interpreted by the Supreme Court of India, does guarantee the right to the freedom of speech and expression. There is a general consensus that this article includes freedom of press. Even though there was no specific provision for it in the Constitution of India, from the time of India's establishment as a freestanding nation in 1947, the free press has grown substantially and contributed significantly to the evolution of the Indian democracy. Sadly, in recent times, the freedom of India's free press, or I should say free news media, to update that term to the 21st century, has been threatened. In 2018, 6 journalists were killed in India, placing it 5th on the list of the countries in the world where journalists have been murdered. In September of 2017, well-known journalist and activist Gauri Lankesh and television reporter Santana Bhowmik were killed in separate incidents. Given these incidents and numerous more over the past few years, it is understandable why the Freedom House, an organization that evaluates country in terms of their freedom of press, rated India's status as partially free in 2017, giving it a score of 43 on a scale of from 0 to 100. Those rankings for India are going in the wrong way and are discouraging. Nonetheless, I know that all of you in this audience who are involved with the journalistic and communication professions understand that the need is to persist and to carry on. Because if you do not, the Indian democracy will crumble. The essential requirement in this era of acquisition of fake news thrown at the authentic free news media and the dissemination of the much fake news by those with motives is for those of you in the business and preparing to be part of the business to continue to produce truthful news. Truthful news stands in stark contrast to the fake news. truthful news is fact-based, authentic, and accurate. There are sometimes errors in the truthful news, but they are not in it by design. They are honest mistakes or misstatements. They are misinformation, not disinformation. Truthful news is produced by journalists and others who adhere to a set of ethical standards. According to Professor Michael Shustin of Columbia University, there are 6 key functions that journalism and the news plays to a greater or lesser degree for citizens in a democratic society. Information provided fairly and fully. Investigation into concentrated sources of power. Analysis, furnishing in-depth and coherent frameworks to help explain complex topics or issues. Social empathy, describing the conditions and the situation of others in society and the world, especially the disadvantaged. Public forum, being a centralized communication vehicle for dialogue, debate, and discourse on issues and matters of importance. Mobilization, advocating for particular positions, programs, and actions. Fake news and truthful news can make a tremendous difference in a democracy. Truthful news has the potential to bring us closer together and to facilitate collaborations in problem solving, community building, and pursuit of the common good. And the fake news can highlight our differences, widen the gap between us as a citizen, and reinforce polarization and partisanship. The free news media must be the purveyor of and the promotion of truthful news. In 2009, the Knight Commission produced a report titled Informing Communities Sustaining Democracy in the Digital Age. That report focused on 3 objectives. Number 1, maximize the availability of the relevant and credible information for all citizens and their communities. Strengthen the capacity of individuals to engage with information and promote individual engagement with information and the public life of the community. Those of you in this auditorium have the competence and the capacity and the capability to adopt and pursue them in playing your role and making your contributions to advancing and enhancing this Indian democracy. The Indian democracy is not perfect, far from it, but India's democracy shines as a beacon of light in a world that is increasingly becoming darker. India has the potential to become a champion of democracy around the globe. If it realizes that potential, it will bring about a new dawn for the democracy in the 21st century. In this final section of my talk, I want to say that even though I'm not part of the free press or the free news media, I stand staunchly for the free press and those journalists and others involved with it here in India. I want to assure you those are not just idle words. I put my money where my mouth is. That is why my wife and I have provided financial support for the naming of this auditorium, because we believe in the freedom of press and the democracy. It is also why we have sponsored fellowship through the Alfred Friendly Press Partners affiliated with the University of Missouri at the School of Journalism to bring deserving journalists from India to the United States for the classroom education and to work in an American newsroom. Our first fellow was Smita Rajan, who was an assistant editor with the DNA, Divya Bhaskar in Gujarat when she accepted her fellowship. Our second fellow was Ghulam Jalani. Is he here in the audience? He was your student, Professor Kadwai. He was a graduate of Aligarh Muslim University and he came from Hindustan Times in New Delhi. We will continue to fund fellowship on these programs as we move forward because of a simple reason. In a free society, the free press matters. It really matters. During my talk, I have placed a strong emphasis on the free press. That's because that without them, there can be no real democracy. And if there's no real democracy, the free world as we know it will cease to exist. From that perspective, let me close with a quote from the News Museum in Washington, D.C. The News Museum is a living memorial. It recognizes news accomplishment in the past and on a daily basis. It presents front pages selected from over 800 newspapers in its room on a daily basis. Etched in the entry to the News Museum is a quote that reads as follows: "The free press is the cornerstone of a democracy. People have the need to know. Journalists have the right to tell. Finding the facts can be difficult. Reporting the story can be dangerous. Freedom includes the right to be outrageous. Responsibility includes the right to be fair. News is history in the making. Journalists provide the first draft of history. A free press, at its very best, reveals the truth." I know it's hot here, so I will cut it short. It is my privilege to be here with all of you. I know you are the truth tellers and advocates for the free press. You have the responsibility to seek and report the truth. You have the responsibility to separate the facts from the fiction. Please keep up your good work and know that the fate of the Indian democracy and our democracies around the world hinge in the balance. Know that I am on your side. Through your words, you can keep us keeping on. And thank you for all you do, and thank you for listening to me, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Frank Islam, for your kind words, enlightening words. And also thank you very much for the promise that you have made with us. Dr. Frank Islam has promised that he'll provide the funding for the air conditioning of this auditorium. And now we hope and we believe that by the time Mr. Frank Islam plans his next visit to Aligarh Muslim University, he'll find this auditorium fully air conditioned. Thank you very much. And I believe, sir, next time you'll be able to make a longer speech. With this, the Vice Chancellor of Aligarh Muslim University, Professor Tariq Mansoor, a dynamic personality who likes everything done with surgical precision. I invite Professor Tariq Mansoor to please come and deliver his presidential address.
Dr. Frank Islam, Mrs. Debbie Griezmann, Vice Chancellor, Registrar, Dr. Abdullah from Washington, Mr. Syed Ali Rizvi from Boston, Professor Shafiq Udwai, Chairperson, Dr. Rajesh Singh, Vice Chancellor, Purnia University, Mr. Tarun Basu from the Hindu. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear students, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to all of you. All of us know that Dr. Frank Islam is committed to a free press. And he's committed to a vibrant media. So I'll not repeat the things which have already been said about him, but I endorse everything. Dr. Frank Islam is making a valuable contribution in the public life of the United States. He has got connections on both sides of the spectrum in the public life of the United States. He's an acquaintance of Barack Obama also, of Bill Clinton also, Hillary Clinton also, Joe Biden also, and on the Republican side also, he's well known among the important constituents of the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives in the United States. So he's a prominent Indo-American, and we are all proud of his achievements as an entrepreneur and as a public figure in the United States. I welcome you, sir. He has rightly pointed out that media is a pillar of democracy. Without free media and freedom of speech, democratic societies cannot exist. In India, we have got a great tradition of journalism. So great journalists we had. Kuldeep Nair, Arun Shori, Kushwant Singh, and many others. It is a long list. You cannot be a journalist without being bold and brave. A coward can never be a good journalist. Many sections of our media are excelling. When you come to media, the tendency is to criticize the media. But we cannot generalize things. It has to be seen in case by case and individually. So the tendency is always to criticize the media, but I think it is two sides of the coin. And some sections of the media, they are doing very well. They are upholding the freedom of the press and expression, and you must appreciate their work. But there are certain issues with the media in India. I think not only in India, but all over the world. The close relationship of the media houses, whether it is newspapers or electronic media, with the corporate houses, with the big business, this is impeding the freedom of speech. Because earlier the big businessmen, they were there, the Goenkas and others, they never used to interfere in the journalistic freedom. So they were never dictating to their readers, you write this or you don't write this. But now I think all over the world this tendency is changing, and the owners, they are interfering more in the editorial policy and in the perception and views of the electronic channels as well as the newspapers. So this we have to see. And as Dr. Frank Islam has rightly pointed out, the media has to be careful about the fake news, the fabricated news. Because if the fake news and the fabricated news, it is going to become prominent, then people will start disbelieving the news. Even the correct news, they will take with a pinch of salt. Journalists, they are also, after all, human beings, so they have to take so many things into consideration, and they have to balance the things. But I agree that journalists are finding it increasingly difficult to maintain journalist freedom as due to the various pressures and factors which I have enumerated. In some cases, the media is also misusing its influence and power. Media can bring anybody down, even the most powerful person. So the media has to exercise restraint, and this has to be self-restraint. There is also unhealthy competitions among the various newspapers and TV channels. Everybody wants to grab the highlight or the publicity and they want to have sensational headlines. So this is also one of the factors. And this is, I think, more born out of commercial reasons. So in the end, as Dr. Frank Islam has rightly said, and Professor Shafiq Adwai has also mentioned, that media should be fair and should not aggravate the various fault lines, whether they are linguistic or caste or religious fault lines. And they should preserve the democratic and secular values of our republic, not only in India but all over the world. Now, technology is very important, but technology is only a means, it is not the end. The basic purpose of technology is to have a level playing field. It should be an equalizer and not the end in itself. So the young students, they must be They must make use of the technology by all means, but to further their values. Senior journalists and teachers, they have an important role in mentoring the students and younger colleagues. Senior journalists, they are very important, because the juniors, they'll follow whatever they are doing. So I think this is a very good example that the thing which we are doing. Dr. Frank Islam has instituted award to 5 eminent journalists. So this will act as an encouragement to them also and motivate them. And their younger colleagues, they should follow their example. As Professor Shafiq Khadwai has pointed out, the Department of Mass Communication is playing a very important role, and the students have joined many important media organizations and making a mark for themselves in various fields. We are committed to provide support to the teachers and the students and the research scholars of the Department of Journalism in every way. I was talking to the chairperson and to some others also about a community radio which we can have and which the Department of Journalism can have. It may not be a 24-hour channel, it may be a 2-hour or 3-hour or 4-hour to start with, and later on we can expand this. We have also given the task of building a film on Aligarh Muslim University as part of our centenary celebrations. So we are going to fund that video film which the students and the teachers of the Department of Mass Communication, they will direct. And another suggestion of mine is that if you want to use this beautiful auditorium which has been built due to the large-heartedness of Dr. Frank Islam and Mrs. Debbie Bisman, then you should also invite some eminent journalists also to give lectures and to motivate the students. So if you are going to invite senior editors and others, whether they are from the print media or electronic media, it will serve two purposes. One is your students, they will get internship. Once they will come here, they will interact with you. And then the employment opportunities they will also increase. Because there is a lot of competition in this media field and in journalism. There is a lot of competition. So unless you have a network and you also excel, it may be difficult to get placements. So in the end, I congratulate all the teachers and the students of the Department of Mass Comm for getting this facility, and I thank Dr. Frank Islam and Mrs. Debbie Griezmann for making this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. We are also thankful to Dr. Shafez Islam, Dr. Shaheen, and Mr. Tariq Arshid, who have accompanied Dr. Frank Islam from the United States of America. There are many other people who've put in a lot of hard work in making this project see the light of day. We'd like to extend our thanks to Professor F.S. Shirani, Professor Tabassum Shahab, and Professor Hanif Bey. With this, I now invite the Registrar of Aligarh Muslim University, Mr. Abdul Hamid IPS, to please come and deliver the vote of thanks.
Most Honorable Vice Chancellor Sahab, Professor Tariq Mansoor, Professor Akhtar Hasib Sahab, Pro Vice Chancellor, our Chief Guest, Dr. Frank Islam Sahab, Mrs. Debbie Griezmann, Mr. Sayyid Ali Rizvi Sahab, Mr. Abdullah Sahab, our Chairman of this department, Shafiq Khadwai Sahab, distinguished delegates present here, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to all of you. It's my pleasure to present today a vote of thanks here in this inauguration ceremony. On behalf of this university, I extend profound thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Frank Islam Sahab, who has time and again shown his unflinching commitment to furthering the cause of education. We are truly moved by your love, sir, towards this great institution of learning. We hope, sir, that your commitment and adoration for Aligarh Muslim University will only deepen in future. Our Vice Chancellor, Professor Tariq Mansoor Sahab, made it a point to see that the project gets completed, and it is because of him and his attention to details that we are able to execute this project. For that, we are thankful to you, sir. It would not be an exaggeration to say that our earlier PVC Sahab, Muhammad Hanif Beg Sahab, and present PVC Sahab, Professor Akhtar Hasib Sahab, has got themselves truly acquainted with this project. And I'm reminded that Professor Hanif Beg Sahab daily in the morning before going to his office used to visit this auditorium, construction of this auditorium, and we are thankful to you, sir. And they ensure that every exigency is taken care of. The Chairman, Department of Mass Communication, Professor Shafiq Kidwai Sahab, has very ably steered the ship to the shores. He single-handedly raised close to 10 lakh rupees as donation for the chairs of this auditorium. Professor Parvez Talib Sahab needs no introduction here. He has an uncanny eye for organizational details, and we have already seen the fruits of his labor in the past in the form of beautiful building the Frank and Debbie Islam Management Complex. And as the project coordinator of this project, that is Frank and Debbie Islam Mass Communication Auditorium, he has added another feather to his cap. Professor Afrina Rizvi Sahab was involved in this project from the very beginning, and it was under her chairmanship that the proposal for this project was passed and construction began. Mr. Muhammad Anas, Assistant Professor, Department of Mass Communication, really took pains in coordinating with various stakeholders of this project. Professor F.S. Shirani Sahab, who was instrumental in getting the audio-visual components and the interiors installed in time. I have to specially mention here that no project of this size can be executed successfully unless the financial matters are resolved quickly. And for this, we are thankful to our Finance Officer, Professor S.M. Javed Akhtar Sahab, who took personal interest in this project. Professor Shakil Ahmed, member in charge of Building Department, with his years of experience as a Professor of Civil Engineering, has contributed significantly to this project. I would specifically and especially like to thank all the donors, including the university teachers, who have contributed for the chairs of this auditorium. I will also like to offer my sincere thanks to Dr. Shah Faisal Islam and his wife, Dr. Shahin Islam, and his nephew, Sharik Ashad, who has found time to travel to AMU from Texas, USA for this inauguration ceremony. Once again, I wish to thank Dr. Frank Islam Sahab for your unwavering patronage, concern and efforts for this university. Your dedication and devotion towards the development of the university is heartwarming, reassuring and commendable. Thank you to all of you for attending this inauguration ceremony of Frank and Debbie Mass Communication Auditorium. Allah Hafiz.
Thank you very much, sir.
शुभ आशीष